a show for the Monero community where all are welcome to join. From noob to maxi, no matter what bags you hold. Just sit back and relax to the sweet sounds of Monero's latest progress. Or if you're feeling inspired, join us on stage. Remember, the only thing that can stop Monero is a false belief that it can be stopped. And if you want to win the revolution faster, we recommend you remove your XMR from all custodial exchanges immediately. Warning, voting accidents are common around here. Don't forget to properly secure your private keys. Monerotopia starts now.
Alrighty, good morning.
All right, good morning.
Cheers to you. I know you don't drink coffee, but I'm gonna take a sip of
I will
mine.
cheers anyway.
How about tea? You drink tea?
Nope,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
water, basically. Simple man.
You're very stoic, man. This is good. It's good quality.
Oh, and sometimes sparkling water. There you go.
Sparkling water. Okay, you mix it up a little bit.
Yep.
Anything we should mention? Oh yeah, I heard you and Sunita talking about. I guess we should mention that the Health Ranger episode
Yeah,
got
that's
banned on YouTube,
crazy.
like insta banned. It was labeled as misinformation.
Misinformation.
Yeah,
But it was like super fast after you uploaded it, right? So it's like pretty automated. That's what I was guessing.
yeah. I think it was live on YouTube for a little bit, but yeah, it was pretty fast. I mean, the Health Ranger guy apparently has been banned.
I think he's in the bad graces of YouTube.
Yes, I guess it was like, the algorithms picked up on it right away. Health Ranger.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it like actually had to do with the content or if it was somebody that watched our video and then like reported it. Who knows? Right?
I bet it was just automated. They have they all have all the stuff so automated. Like most people, when their video gets shut, it's not even like somebody going out of their way to do it. They've set it up so that if it's got these specific keywords or like if their server capturing the words from the video, here's something specifically, it's pretty dystopian.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
it's pretty crazy too because it's like I forget. I gotta go back and look at it. But yeah, the first one I guess is a warning, and then like if it happens again, I think they take the channel down for like 2 weeks.
Oh, so you have a warning on the channel right now?
Yeah, I believe so.
Oh, wow.
I think we can contest it, but I don't know if
You want me to get on that Monerotopia channel archiving real fast?
What's Sunita saying? What, one morning?
1 week, and we're not allowed to upload stream anything for 1 week.
Yeah, you're banned for 1 week. You can't first strike, but we didn't get the strike yet. Right now, we just have a warning.
Gotcha.
Which, knock on wood, I'm surprised this hasn't happened to us earlier. I mean, we've gotten this far. We have a lot of content out there, but yeah, I'm surprised it was the Health Ranger thing that really put us over the edge. I mean, it was nothing we've never said on the show before. I mean,
it's probably because his name was in the title, I imagine.
So dystopian, though, like you're saying, right? Like you can't even have a conversation with somebody about a topic.
Yeah, it's just insane.
That covers information that goes against, what the tyrannical
totalitarian
sees as the truth, right? Like
yeah.
Totally 1984 type stuff. So that happened. Luckily, we've always put our video. Well, not always. For the last couple of years, we've always put our videos on Odyssey library. So, God forbid anything ultimately does happen, all our videos are there, including this one. So anybody that wants to go watch it can go watch it there. We recently started adding the videos to Rumble as well. But yeah, Odyssey is a good option. I think our entire archive is there. We've been doing it for years, and it's just auto. Anything we post.
Do you have a place where you're archiving the videos and audio yourself?
We do. I mean, well, Sunita just we just keep a hard copy. We just keep
That's good.
Yeah. I mean, I think we're still doing that. I'm sure we are. Sunita's pretty good with that stuff. So Yeah, God forbid, worst comes to worst. We got our, the
Hey,
Monero talk.
you got a following already, so there's always options, and people would be willing to move to other platforms just to watch instead of YouTube. I think most people watching probably hate YouTube anyway.
Yeah, I mean the reason, but it's good to be out there, right? We want to bring in the noobs. We want to find those people that don't know about us yet. So it's like you only kind of shoot yourself in the foot by being like, fuck YouTube, I don't want to be a part of it. I think you got to be out there. Yes, you're helping propel YouTube, but you're also allowing people to find you. These new, otherwise there's no way, right? Otherwise we're an island and there's really nobody finding us, except those that are hardcore enough to kind of make their way to this island through other means, other channels. So I think it's important to be on YouTube too, as long as we can. So that was big news. Oh, and then this week we interviewed this guy Nima. He was an interesting character. Did you catch that one, Tux? Did you take a look at that interview?
No, I haven't seen that one yet.
So cool dude, fun conversation. He is dead set on the fact that he believes he has determined with 100% certainty that Adam Back is Satoshi, which isn't particularly surprising, right? He's always been a top choice. But he's got his means and methods as to how he's proven it. So recommend.
Was that yesterday?
I think we put it up a few days ago. But he's a real character.
Interesting.
I didn't totally understand all this. I get his points where how he's the evidence that he has for Adam Back being Satoshi, and you can make of that what you will. But he's kind of sees that as a critical flaw of Bitcoin, the fact that we do know it's Adam Back. I wasn't really totally following his logic there. So, but it's worth checking out, and he's a super cool dude, fun to listen to. He thinks he also, in like one sentence, he's saying how he thinks he can create a better privacy coin, but he just doesn't want to do it. Like he's a little over the top.
Or what, than Monero?
Yeah, he likes Monero, but he thinks Monero can be traced because he was referencing the IRS bounties and the chain analysis stuff, and but then like in his second breath he's like, yeah, and if I wanted to I could build something that's completely untraceable.
Do it.
He's a little he's a little over the top, but definitely fun to listen to, and overall a good personality. I enjoyed him, and hope maybe we'll have him on this show at some point. He's a fun guy. So check those things out. Oh, one other thing I wanted to bring up. Actually, I'll put the banner up right now that we always put up here. The Nodo. The Nodo is full steam ahead, guys. I've gotten like an email or a DM or two, people asking about it. It is full steam ahead. I think originally we wanted to deliver it quite some time ago, but then we had pushed it back to September. We're not there, but it's we're just dealing with issues with China and actually getting the hardware and things like that. But what we've decided to do, since there's things that are holding it up, we've decided to put some more development into the software side of things. So we're adding an easy one-click way to mine with the Nodo using P2 pool. So it's not an ideal way by any means to mine Monero, but the idea is if you're going to have this device, maybe you want to just turn it on as a miner, right?
Yeah, it's not exactly a beefy Ryzen 9 or anything. I think
it's
like an ARM processor, right. But it's like a decent one. It's like an 8-core ARM processor.
Yeah, it makes sense, right? We talk about how you could turn any computer into a miner, so why wouldn't we turn the Nodo into a miner? So with super one click, you got a node up and running. You could easily run a light wallet off of it. The real whole purpose of Nodo is super secure, reliable node, right? That's like number one goal. But now we're adding other little features. So with one click, you could add P2 pool mining for those that want to get that up and running and make it super, super easy for people like me. And then we're also adding a larger screen. So I think I was talking to you about this, right? So there is a screen on the Nodo, but we're making it kind of almost like smartphone size. So nice,
cool.
large screen. And then with that, we'll be able to do some more fun things with the screen itself. So we're working on that as well. So those software developments, P2 Pool, and basically developing it so we'll have information running across the screen, kind of like Monero news type stuff. Yeah, like the latest
That's always
tweet.
cool to see. Yeah,
Like an RSS feed of Monero stuff. So you could have this thing sitting on your desk. It's a reliable node, and you glance over at it. It might show you the latest Monero tweet, or perhaps eventually the latest popular posting on XMR Bazaar. So we're building that out right now, and it's not slowing down the project at all. It's because we're waiting on other things anyway. So I'd say at this point we're on track for having these delivered before Christmas.
getting those manufactured as a small business is probably pretty hard, pretty difficult, especially since you have to outsource most of that to China.
Yeah, that's the real holdup. And apparently they've made other projects priority, like much larger orders. Our orders,
even though you put yours in way long ago.
Yeah, and we don't really have any leverage with them. So the guy we're dealing with that's dealing with China is super cool dude. But yeah, his hands are kind of tied. So, and can't really throw more money at them to become priority. But we've had 25 people order these things, which is awesome. Greatly appreciate that. And yeah, anybody else that's considering, please do. It definitely helps if you guys order one now. It just gives us more momentum. It gives us more capital going into all this. And God forbid anything does happen, everybody's getting their money back. I'm good for that. But it's more on track than ever, closer than ever, and if anything, it's better than ever. So just want to get the word out on that. And yeah, that's it. I guess we can move on with the show.
Awesome. Yeah, let's go ahead and jump into the price report.
Let's do it.
The Monerotopia Price Report segment is sponsored by Local Monero. Avoid using KYC exchanges. Buy and sell Monero directly for fiat, peer-to-peer.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Hey, good morning. Good morning.
Good to hear the Nodos coming along.
Yeah, Nodos coming along. These things are it's not easy, man. A lot of moving parts, but full speed ahead. Because we had like 3 people in the past week ask about it, which is understandable, given I think we had said September. But yeah, it's moving along.
Cool. Tux, what's your Perry, or what's your sparkling water brand of choice?
Probably LaCroix.
LaCroix. Wow, I've never heard of that one.
Is it a good
Oh,
or bad?
no? You never heard of that? That's like
LaCroix.
It's pretty popular, yeah.
Super popular over here. Yeah. Wow.
Huh. I used to drink Gerolsteiner a lot just because it seemed like it had the most minerals of all the sparkling waters.
Oh yeah, this one isn't even like I have tried some mineral waters, but a lot of these aren't even like mineral sparkling waters. It's just like a slightly flavored carbonated water, basically.
I see.
So yeah, like carbonation, but you don't
really,
soda.
Yeah, they really figured out the flavoring, whatever they did, and the marketing, right? I feel like they were really the breakthrough flavored soda water.
Huh.
You see them everywhere.
Well, here in Mexico, I just drink a bunch of Topo Chico. In the States, it's like super expensive, but here I can get like, I don't know, for less than $1, I can get 1.5 liters.
What is it? Topo Chico? What's that?
Topo Chico. Oh yeah, it's like maybe it's only like a Texas popular thing. Everyone in Texas, like when you go to any cool, chic little restaurant, they'll have a glass bottle of Topo Chico. It's like, I don't know, it's some kind of mineral spring water here in Mexico that I don't know, decades or a century or two ago, it was renowned that it would heal your ailments or whatever if you go dip in the pool. So now they like bottle it up. It's owned by Coca-Cola, unfortunately, but it's really popular here.
Yeah, I think LaCroix might even be owned by Coca-Cola. Maybe not.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they are.
Yeah.
I think Coca-Cola owns all the water on the world.
They're the
It's gonna be
Disney
the
of the
oceans, too.
beverage industry.
Great
Yeah.
business, right? Sugar water. Sugar water for everyone.
Sugar flavored water. Now they use
Yes.
stevia. No, I don't know. All right, so yeah, let's get into price. Not too much happened
We
this
got to
week.
sell some original Coca-Cola, original recipe on XMR Bazaar. We get somebody doing that. That'd be fun.
Original Coca-Cola. You mean like with the cocaine in it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Good shows, man.
Get back to the good old days, right?
Next price
Coca-Cola
report.
is Coca-Cola.
Drink your Coke like a man with the white stuff in it. Gross. Anyways. Okay, yeah, so we got the Monero chart sitting here in front of us. Not much happened, kind of went up for a little bit, kind of went down, still riding in these lower standard deviation bands. This line up here, I'll zoom in a little bit. I'm not really quite sure how to draw it. Like if I wanted to, I could connect that down there. You say, wow, that makes a lot of sense. But then, if price had gone higher, then I would just draw the line a little bit higher. So I suppose if this kind of stays down, then maybe this line right here would make some sense. But yeah, this wouldn't be regarded as a very reliable pleb line. Overall, Monero is still going to be correlated with the rest of the crypto market. What kind of bumps me out a little bit is that I'm really wanting to break through this top line right here. And it's like we almost did it, came back down. We're like pushing up against there. And then somehow I guess Monero just took a little dump here relative to Bitcoin. So yeah, the weird thing about that is that for the last few days, really since Wednesday, Monero price on Kraken has been above all of the rest of the prices. Or I'm sorry, excuse me. Binance, Polo, Finex, Qcoin, and OKX have all been above the Kraken price for like basically since Wednesday. So you kind of think like, why would this candle right here drop? That doesn't necessarily make a whole lot of sense. But again, I'm not convinced that these divergences are reliable anymore. Perhaps their Monero miner that they've been using is enabling them kind of screw with that. I have the sense, it's not an ego thing, but I have a sense that CZ is maybe paying attention to this. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if eventually they got wind that we were looking at this chart and they said, "Oh crap, we need to change our algos or something," so that this doesn't appear, so it's not such an easy thing to use with so much signal. Let's see if we compare our price to Ethereum. Monero's actually doing pretty good in terms of the quote unquote wave magic. We're sort of riding the upper standard deviation bands, at least the short-term ones. This is actually pretty decent price action. It doesn't have to hold. Again, this is all like, when we look at TA, it's all probabilistic. So, just keep that in mind, which is, why we look at the macro, so we can get sort of a more fundamental view of the market and combine that with our TA. And, really what we try to draw out is common themes. If we see TA that says the same thing across a bunch of different charts, that helps us to have confidence, especially if the macro is lined up. So anyways, just know that this doesn't have to hold, but this could be a reasonably good expectation. I don't know, maybe 60% it'll hold, and then start moving, making its way up here to the moving average bands. Excuse me. Okay, so longs versus shorts on Monero is still hovering pretty close to zero, and it has been for basically a year now. We had these pretty wild swings that happened previously in our price history. You'll remember the bull market 2021, where we inexplicably had these crazy shorts, and Zcash was like way up here on their shorts, longs minus their shorts, or their net short position. Nothing much has changed either with the market cap dominance for Monero. Still basically looking at the same thing. Still hoping, praying to, I don't know, the price gods that this thing will finally bump up to the upside. That would be double good. That would be double plus good on two counts. One, because we'll break this very long descending line, which we tried to do there and didn't quite make it, didn't quite confirm it. So breaking that again is a good confirmation that this line should be beat for quite a long time. The other thing, obviously, is that, we've got this head and shoulders right here that is not quite yet the inverse right shoulder. Like this, the price needs to come to the upside to really confirm that this right shoulder is, in fact, a right shoulder. So hopefully that plays out in the way we want to see it. Let's take a look at... We'll come back to the general...
When would you have to see it play out by? Like, when is what's the timing on that? where we
Oh, you know, with these shoulders, they can be weird and gimpy and all messed up. This thing could like sit flat through here. It could take until next year, and if this thing finally comes to the upside, you would still call that a shoulder. So, like, for example,
Jesus.
even if we did something like this and then came up like that, you would still be able to call that a head and shoulders, basically.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's such a long. We're looking at the weekly chart here, so it's such long time frames that the time for this to be invalidated would be like it would take us well into next year before you would kind of say, all right, there's an expiration on this on the time frame here.
Got it.
So we can take a look at Bitcoin and the rest of crypto in a second. Let's go ahead and take a look at the macro picture here. We'll start with Dixie. That's a reasonably good, solid thing that everyone looks at. As we talked about, since we basically came back from this breakdown right here and then started moving up, it's kind of like, all right, we've basically been expecting this rise, and we've been kind of just steady on that. At this moment, we're hitting some resistance levels, right? We're hitting that spot. Yeah, I mean, you draw a line back far enough, you're going to find some place that it matches up. So whether those two matter or not, I don't know. But this spot right here is definitely important. So I wouldn't be surprised to watch the dollar index take a little bit of pause here. It might need to pull back some and then potentially break to the upside. We'll have to wait and see on that. Let's take, I haven't looked at the wave magic on this in a while. So let's take a look at what that says. We'll let that load. That it just takes a minute for that thing to load. So if we're going to think that the Dixie might pull back and we're looking at gold, there's actually a decent opportunity that gold might find support at this line right here, and then make its way to the upside, which is something, you know, I've kind of been expecting for a long time. It's not a short-term play. It's not a medium-term play. It's definitely like on the many months to years time frame here. But I do think gold is just overall, like, it's a good asset, a good place to be in right now. We don't know when it might start pumping to the upside. Sometimes it has counter-cyclical pumps. It does tend to pump before you get a big risk on movement. So that's the other reason. Like, that's another reason to be in gold. You're going to have limited downside, and it should be one of the first things to pump going into the next risk on moment, which could be next year. Maybe it takes to the end of next year. You know, we've talked about recession and all that, and we'll take a look at that again actually here in a minute. Let's take a look at the global liquidity, right? We talked about this. We talked about this last episode where the green line is sort of liquidity. I don't include the M2 in the green line here because that's so delayed. It almost just creates more noise. So this is really just the Fed balance sheet, and we get a weekly report on that. It's called the Wednesday level. So that's the Fed balance sheet minus the reverse repos. So we're sort of combining two different charts that we looked at before. To understand the broad picture liquidity, that's probably more appropriate for us to do. So as you can see, overall, the U.S. liquidity in green has been rising, but it's really not like that high. I mean, it's basically in, let's draw some lines here. It's basically in this zone right here. So in this zone right here, price for the NASDAQ, we're looking at the NASDAQ right here. The NASDAQ was kind of, you know, in this range. So given where the U.S. liquidity currently is, it does look like price is maybe slightly ahead of itself. And then the white line is global liquidity. This does include M2. In fact, this is M2 and all balance sheets for like 99% of the global economy. So we're like talking about the top 15 national economies. So that's their M2 money supply and their central bank balance sheets. So you can see that that actually was a better predictor for us about what the stock market was going to do. Once that started popping, that was like the stock market immediately started coming back, and it makes sense. Global liquidity does like to flow into U.S. stocks. That's a thing that does happen. Although you can see that really since about, we'll just say the end of April, we've seen global liquidity dropping, generally speaking, even as U.S. liquidity has been rising. So these are kind of slightly conflicting, and the stock market is kind of ever optimistic. The stock market loves to pump. It loves any reason to go up, and it tends to do that. So right now, I would say on the stock market, let's mute this. I think we're looking at a head and shoulders here. To me, like, this looks fairly confirmed at this moment. You could also draw this line right here, something kind of like a line that looks like that. And so you've got kind of the armpits there. So, I mean, this thing, in my mind, should at least end up dropping to to this horizontal resistance right here, somewhere in that area. And again, kind of like we've been talking about, you know, I'm fairly convinced that this run is temporarily over, and that things need a pullback. I'm not calling for a massive bear market crash. I'm not calling for a 2008. I'm just saying that things need to pull back, at least to this level, but sometimes things can overperform and end up further down. That wouldn't be surprising. So look back to the Dixie really quick now that the wave magic is loaded, just to take a quick look at it. One really good spot, it's looking to me like if the Dixie was going to continue to the upside, the confluence of the upper standard deviation bands and then this big rising kind of line right there, trend line, maybe right here, like that would be somewhere in this area would probably be a good spot to maybe expect a top in Dixie. Things don't go in straight lines, so I wouldn't expect it to actually just go in a straight line. We might have some kind of pullback, right? Maybe it comes to the top here, comes up there, does something like that. I do think that this is a reasonable spot to think that we might see some, we might see a little bit of pullback in the Dixie that could happen. So the other thing too is, I mean, sometimes this thing just does violent moves for no reason. So perhaps it could just pump to the upside and then stay up there. Yeah, so that's the dollar index. That's global liquidity. Let's take a look at Bitcoin and Ethereum real quick. The combination market cap. Bitcoin has actually been outperforming Ethereum lately. It's still inside its descending wedge. We'll take a look at that in a second. Overall, I mean, like in terms of looking at this from sort of wave magic perspective, you know, the standard deviations. I mean, this thing looks like it needs to drop. It needs to at least get to the moving average cluster here, but I mean, really, it needs to get into this zone. It needs to get into the lower standard deviation zone where it's been, and it needs to establish that as kind of a bottom. Like that's in long-term price action. I just see this over and over again. Like you almost never form some kind of bottom and then come up and then just keep going up. Like that's so rare. Like some kind of fundamental event has to drive that, and we just don't have that kind of fundamental event right now. So this price action is just like, I mean, it's just flat. It's nothing. There's no volume. If you look on the exchanges, the volume is total crap. And we get like a massive pump and then dump back down. This is a bar right here, and then we get a bar to the downside, and then we kind of go up and then kind of fake out and be like, no, I'm just kidding. We're not actually going to go up now. This is just kind of jacking price around. I think this is mostly just to try and capitalize on whatever hopes and dreams and liquidity might be out there, to really both the long side and the short side. Like, I mean, you kind of want to wreck both sides really. So this line right here is actually holding pretty well. You could probably find a number of different ways of drawing this line right here. But for now, I guess that's good enough. You know, we're not going to put too much stock in it, but yeah, I mean, at this moment, it probably looks like price will most likely be range bound somewhere in this area. So, I mean, I don't really have like great things to say about price. It doesn't mean things can't pump. Like things can always take a big, massive pump for no reason. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. Back to Bitcoin ETH. Things can always take a big, massive pump for no reason. Like we could see this thing just pump to the top of this this blue cluster right here. That could happen. I don't think it will. I think that's less likely, but it could happen. So I think the more likely scenario is that we just kind of just slowly bleed out and continue doing that. 10-year yield, like we talked about last week, this thing was pretty much ready to break out. It decided to go ahead and do it recently. The interesting thing is that so we had a Fed meeting on Wednesday, and they didn't say anything that they don't always say. You know, they're dedicated to getting inflation under control, and they're going to hold rates steady, and they're going to look at the data, blah, blah, blah. They talked a little bit about the government shutdown, the potential that, you know, U.S. government might shut down because of, you know, not enough funding, because they're spending such an insane amount of money at this point.
Go.
But the Fed held rates steady. They didn't raise the rates, which is like what everyone thought they were going to do. No one thought they were going to raise rates. It makes sense. They, I think they sniff weakness in the market, same as I do, and they don't want to put another rate hike on the board to surprise the markets and cause them to go down. So let's take a look at like all the rates. So that was the 10-year, but let's take a look at all the rates in a broad sense. You can see that, again, the red lines down here being the overall inversion. And you can see that they're kind of ticking up slowly. You can see even on the chart here that the long-term rates sort of pushed up here, whereas the short-term rates didn't actually change that much. One thing that I kind of wanted to mention or forgot to mention last time when we kind of fire hosed, you know, powered through the recessions and the yield curve inversion. One thing that we almost always see before the recession hits and before the stock market starts crashing, or as the stock market has reached its top and is starting to go down, you'll see the Fed raises rates. And so here's the 2020 debacle. They raised rates all the way, and then sort of flat topped here. And then what did we see? All of the short-term rates, the yellow and green lines, dip below the white line, dip below the federal funds rate, and then things started coming down. And once that happens, that was signal of an impending recession, a very short-lived recession, because they just printed their way out of that one. Same thing happened here, right? So the Fed raised rates. You can see all the way up in 2008, you have the short-term rates were above the federal funds rate, and then they flat topped, and then the short-term rates went below the federal funds rate. And then when everything started crashing, that signaled the recession that was coming. Exact same thing in 2000, right? You got the federal funds rate. In this case, in both of these cases, the federal funds rate was above everything, not just the short-term rates, but everything. And if we continue going backwards, you can kind of see similar action happening, even going back into the 1980s. So again, federal funds rate is higher than everything else, and then recession hits. So one thing that we might be able to say right now in favor of not having a recession, at least not in the immediate term, is that the short-term rates are still largely, for the most part, above the federal funds rate. Now, if the Fed bumps by one more rate hike this year, 0.25 basis points, what would that be? I guess that would be 5.5. So right around here. Let's just put a line right there. All right, so those dotted lines up there. If the Fed bumps rates up there and then you start seeing rates come down, okay, that's, in my mind, that will be like the final early warning sign that recession is coming, that pullback is happening. And then big crashes, sudden crashes on the stock market could kind of be back on the table if that happens. So let's make sure we didn't miss anything here. Oil prices, not much to say here. Looks like they're kind of hitting some resistance. Yeah, I don't know, they kind of broke through my little pleb line right here, but at the same time, where this should be a pretty solid spot for resistance as well. So yeah, oil probably hitting some resistance, Dixie probably hitting some resistance. Crypto market, who knows, that gets jacked around to take money from traders. So careful about that. I think slowly bleed out with moments of hope in between, but mostly bleeding out slowly, and then pop, just to restore the faith and the hope of the true believers, only to be met with more downside. That would be my call here for the next coming months. We kind of already looked at the stock market, not much to see here. Yeah, just kind of checking, making sure. I guess we could take a look at the S&P really quick. Again, we've got kind of this head and shoulders. You can see how I've made this measurement, right? You've got sort of the basing line down here, and then you take from that basing line to the top, and then you just move that line down there. So right now, the target on this head and shoulders would be this area right here on the S&P, which would kind of, really that puts us back in trend kind of with the bear market, which is, again, what the global liquidity is signaling to me when combined with the U.S. liquidity is that it doesn't look like we should expect new highs on the stock market. We shouldn't expect a rebound, but neither is the situation dire. Things are just kind of flat and blah. And I know we've been saying that for the last, really since May. But that's just where things are at. Things are just flat and slow, and not really too much exciting is happening. Okay, so we could just take a look at Bitcoin specifically. If we wanted to try and draw this this line, we could probably draw it something like that. It's easy to draw this line like that. Oops. It's easy to draw this line like that after, the fact of having this and that, having sort of these two pumps here. So this is definitely a resistance line at this point. Again, one more thing that we could look at here in a very broad sense. I saw someone, I think it was a guy named Crypto Sniper, Francis Hunt. He drew a very large triangle. So let's just draw it like this. So you can kind of see where I just drew that line there. Let's actually make it thicker, because there's a lot of lines here, so it might be hard to see. And then we've kind of got maybe this going on right here, right? You could say that that's a triangle, or even if you wanted to look at it in a very large sense, we could. Dang it, my usage of hotkeys are kind of messed up today for whatever reason. Okay, we could also maybe try and draw that line right here. So there's different ways of looking at it. This would hypothetically take until maybe we just bounce along the bottom here. Maybe we could extend that line right there. There's a whole bunch of different ways this could play out, right? Maybe we could bounce along here and then crash somewhere around the New Year's. Like I'm saying, like to get back to somewhere in this zone, right? There's a bunch of different places that we could hit in this zone, but somewhere in this zone, you could say colloquially 20K, right? You could just be like, okay, 20K, nice round number. Anyway, so yeah, we're looking at descending triangles, which is a similar. It's not entirely similar. That's kind of what happened, back here in the last bear market where we sort of had like this, we had this triangle going on. Dang it, what am I doing? I'm hitting a button wrong here, and I think I'm hitting Alt R. Anyway, so there's kind of like this triangle down there, which broke down. Some smart people actually expected that to break down. Okay, anyway, so yeah, that's basically the Bitcoin price right there. Those are different ways of sort of drawing the lines and looking at it. Last thing we'll look at here is the Ethereum Bitcoin price. And as we've talked about, it's kind of like this descending wedge. This is a very clear structure. This is not one of these like, oh, I drew it this way, but someone else drew it that way. Like, no, this is like very, very clear descending wedge structure here on ETH BTC. So, yeah, right now, a lot of people celebrating the slow bleed of Ethereum versus Bitcoin. And, I wouldn't necessarily expect this to stop, right? Like this thing could just keep going down. And at some point, it wouldn't be surprising at all to see a fake out to the downside. Like, let's see, maybe it happens. Maybe it happens all the way over here. And we get some kind of like bounce and then fake out and then down, right? Only to bounce back out of that. So that's just one way. Like, again, these things fake out. Crypto markets are heavily manipulated in a lot of ways. All markets are really pretty manipulated, but crypto especially. So yeah, that's kind of like, I wouldn't expect much change in the current steady state that we're seeing. Let's see. We got the bunch of different coins, looking at them next to each other, and nothing's really performing. I guess Link in white is slightly doing better than everything else, but not that better. You know what I'm going to do? If you guys want to like hit me with the coins y'all want to see, like whatever shit coins you want to see, I'm going to program an indicator that puts like, I don't know, maybe like 15 or 20 different lines here. So we can look at all the different shit coins together. And then I'll put a little legend up here at the top that color codes everything. So if y'all have coins particularly that y'all want to see, we can just put them all next to each other. And these are Z-scores again. So you're looking at how the coin is performing relative to its own personal history over the past X amount of days or candles or whatever. So these are Z-scores, and I think they're very useful for comparing assets side by side. Because, if you try and compare the price of gold to the price of silver, you're like, okay, well, their prices are nowhere near each other. So then you have to like go into the axis here and start, okay, send this line to a new, pin to a new scale, new left scale. And then that's just too much. Just use the Z-scores. It's like statistically congruent anyways. So other than that, yeah, I think unless there's anything you guys want to take a look at, that should be about all for today.
No. It's good on my end. Thank you, man. Maybe at some point, give us commentary on the housing market. Not today, but I don't know if you've kept an eye on that. It's just interesting. It seems like
yeah. Guess it depends on what region too.
It's in super bubble territory compared to historically. On all
I mean, I can give you a quick clip on it. We don't have to look at the charts or anything, but with the rates going up, what we're seeing is people don't want to take new loans on new houses, and people don't want to sell their house because you have to go somewhere. You have to go to a new house, right? So you have to get a new loan. So people don't want to sell their houses, and people don't want to buy new houses. So the volume has dropped off significantly. But that doesn't necessarily mean that the housing market's about to crash. It just means that there's not much volume, and there's not much liquidity on either side of that equation. This will probably continue until, I don't know, I guess until wages come up or probably until rates come down. It's hard to imagine with 30-year loans that people are going to make any significant changes for the next 5 years unless something significantly changes with rates.
It's probably going to be rates because like even my parents, they wanted to move, but they're like, we can't refinance right now. We're just kicking ourselves in the...
But the price of homes, what they're valued at is historically high, really, compared to any time in history when you compare it to like other metrics,
Yeah. Maybe I'll try and look at
China's
it housing relative to the stock market, relative to, I don't know, GDP, stuff like that.
Yeah.
China's housing market will always be in goofball territory.
Yeah, that's a whole nother deal, right? I mean, they built like all these fake
For
investment
fake GDP.
buildings that nobody like lives in, like entire like fake cities with empty buildings. It's bizarre, crazy.
In China?
Yeah. There's
Yeah,
you
that's probably tied up with the whole Evergrande. You know, like there was China kind of had their 2008 housing real estate bust, leverage and bust over the past couple years.
yeah. Supposedly there's like these essentially empty cities because people were just using property as a way to store value without any intention of using these things. So they just kept building and building
It's
and
like
building.
hodling Bitcoin.
Yes. Gotcha.
You'd be surprised with so many people. Why wouldn't people just go squat in those cities? Maybe they got their police making sure that no one occupies the empty, abandoned
Yeah.
ghost towns.
Yeah, it's China. You know,
They have the most amount of cameras per citizen compared to any country in the world.
The most amount of what?
Cameras, CCTV cameras per
Oh, shit,
citizen,
okay.
at least in Beijing.
Huh.
is the U.S. second to China?
Second or third.
All right,
I'm
man.
thinking,
Bawdy.
thinking about moving to Argentina.
Oh yeah,
If Millet
yeah.
wins, and
Seriously,
Kazakhstan, bros.
yeah. That would be wild. Do you think he has a real shot?
It seems like he's going to win. We'll know by next month. I think October 22nd is the election.
Gonna be crazy. We're probably gonna try to go down there in November. And
Nice.
start scoping out for the next Monerotopia, which would be a year from then.
Cool.
Yeah,
I was
it's
thinking
gonna
about
be
going in
Argentina
January to
confirmed.
check it out. He should have taken office by then. I think it's like December, sometime in mid-December. He should take office.
Be wild if he won. Amazing. All right, man. Thank you.
Regardless,
What's that?
should be a good Monerotopia regardless.
Oh yeah. I mean, we're not totally set on Argentina, but definitely top choice right now. I think my only hesitation is it's far for us. I mean, depending on where you're coming from, it seems like it's far from a lot of people. But obviously not if you're already in
Would you
South
say
America.
most of the attendance is from the U.S.?
Yeah, most of the attendance from the U.S.
That's what it looked like to me.
I liked
And
the idea
Europe.
of doing Mexico again, only because it'd be easier. We would do it at the same venue, and we would just tweak things and improve things, as opposed to starting from scratch. But Buenos Aires is very enticing right now, especially with everything that's going on. Like potentially the new crypto-friendly president, libertarian-friendly president, and then just crypto itself seems to be gaining organic adoption there. So trying to tap into that with the Monero Bazaar that we'll have. So probably leaning towards Buenos Aires.
Bueno.
Almost
All right.
confirmed. Not yet.
Almost confirmed. Oh, yeah, we'll have to go down there and we'll see what it leads to. All right.
Thanks, buddy.
All right, guys.
Thank you, buddy.
I'll talk to you later.
Cool.
Yeah, that's super ironic that you couldn't do U.S. last time because the land that's supposed to be the free was forcing vax mandates on non-U.S. citizens to come in.
Yeah.
By the time at the time you were doing it, not last year, this year, earlier in May.
Mm-hmm.
Thankfully, that's gone now, but I have a feeling it's going to come back again.
Yeah, I don't really trust the U.S. in that respect. And there's a lot of people that just don't want to come here from around the world. They're like, I don't want to have to get a visa to come into the U.S. Like, there's a lot of people that don't want to deal with that.
Yeah,
Mexico City was much more friendly to that.
it was a lot more.
Buenos Aires, I'm actually not sure about that, from depending on where you're coming from, but I think it's certainly
It'd probably be a lot easier than the U.S., but it's just far. It's just far from us, at least.
It's far from us, but it would be beautiful if we did it down there, and we'd probably do it in like around November, December time, probably November, which is springtime. Be beautiful. A lot of it.
Oh, not this year, but the next year.
Would be amazing. Yeah, would it be this year? That's obviously
Yeah.
wait. Next month. You're already tickets now. No, that gives us time, right? It was you helped out. You saw the stress involved. So we figure if we have a good year to plan,
Yeah.
It'll give us a lot of time, and then that also then separates us from MoneroCon, which they're going to stick in Prague, and they're going to stay with the June timeline. So that puts us like 6 months away from that. So then we have MoneroCon in June, and Monero.
Oh, there you go. That makes that a lot easier for you guys,
Exactly.
not back-to-back Monero conferences.
Exactly. Somebody's got to do it, so we'll take the lead on that. Andres, no visa needed for Buenos Aires. Yeah. It's
there
very
you go.
intense.
It's awesome.
Buenos Aires, man. Let's all head down there.
He's trying to get you to do it.
All right, moving
Go ahead
along.
and jump into the dev segment.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
And now for the Monero development segment.
Yo, what's up?
Yo, what's going on, man?
Well, you know what's going on. I told you in Telegram, but other than that, I'm fine. I got a cold.
Oh, you have a cold?
Yeah, kind of.
Oh no. All right. Well, I hope you feel well enough to do this. And I guess you had some issues with your hardware.
No, it's the shop that I bought my Galaxy Watch from. You know.
Oh, okay.
I basically got scammed with the European 14 days return rights.
Okay.
Wait, so they never sent it to you? Is that what happened?
No, so I bought it, and I decided that I wanted to switch to Apple. Please don't blame me. And I sent it back with a 14 days return right. And
Oh, okay.
it was 100% cleaned, everything, and it's a GSM, so they probably don't want you to send back products because they lose profit on that. And they said that it was muddy and stuff, and yeah, they were trying to how do I say this? They were trying to deduct money from the original price that I paid for it.
Okay, that sucks.
Yeah. So now I have to go around talking to national organizations and police stuff. So it will take a few months to get this
Jeez.
sorted out.
God.
And
All right,
they
what do you
also
got?
broke.
Go ahead. Sorry.
And they also broke my GDPR rights.
They invaded your privacy.
They recorded my voice in a voice call without notifying me about it, nor did they ask for permission.
Not surprised there. I'm sure that happens all the time.
Sadly.
Yeah, that's the world we live in, man. That's why we've been Monero, right?
Yeah.
What do you have for us today? What is the Spackles project?
So, Speckle XMR, as we know from Matrix, he's contributed, I think, twice already, but this is the project of him that I chose. So basically, it's an alternative to Pocket Change. As you see my screen, this is mentioned from him. So he saw the concerns with people voicing over Pocket Change and wanted to offer an alternate that could address the central issues with being somewhat convenient. What he wrote is a much less convenient version than Pocket Change, but it's a straightforward one for a user who's comfortable running an RPC, and of course using Python because it's built in Python.
So it's a new version of Pocket Change?
No, it's an alternative
version.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I guess let us know all about it.
So if I find my cursor, this is just an explanation of Monero outputs for people who don't know. Do you want me to show this, or we can skip it and you just put it in the description?
Yeah, you could quickly explain.
Sure.
Yeah.
So basically, Monero has outputs, for example, like change in your wallet, and every transaction that you send compares what kind of outputs you have. For example, if you want to send one Monero transaction, but you only have two half Monero outputs, then it takes both of your outputs and you don't have any change because you sent a full Monero. But for example, if you want to send two Moneros and you have 1.5 and 1.5 Moneros, you send two outputs, one of which you are going to get back one Monero change because you sent in total 3 Monero. So usually Monero has transactions with one input and two outputs, and this makes it so people blend in very well. If you send more outputs, you are going to get a larger ring size, but then you basically compromise yourself as you don't blend in the crowd. So he has 3 scripts: Fracture, a Consolidate, and a Churn Python script. Fracture does what I wrote here. So it takes a wallet with one output and breaks it into 16 outputs with independently timed 1 in and 2 output transactions with a matching decoy selection of maximum 3 days, which covers 60% of the decoy distribution. Running this script for 1 week, a 1 output wallet will be broken into 16 outputs, as said, and it isn't traceable, as it doesn't break it into 16 outputs immediately, but over time. Moving on to churn. This is basically a simplified version of Fracture without splitting the outputs. I see your face. Are you not getting something, or?
I'm reading. No, I'm reading as you talk. Go ahead.
The churn takes the outputs and churns them with the same approach and timing as Fracture, and wallet with 10 available outputs. With this script running for a week, a user will have 10 outputs at the end, but the churn churns them at least twice over time, over the 1 week.
So effectively, what is the difference between this and Pocket Change? Like, and if you could simplify it, I know it's a tough question.
I think Speckle would be better simplifying it. To be honest, I don't get why he thinks that this is a more better approach to it for starter Monero users. But I'm sure he can answer maybe in the viewers section segment of Monerotopia.
Oh, okay, he's with us today.
I think I will ask him in Element after my segment.
Oh, cool. Yeah, if he wants to jump up, sure.
Sure. Moving on to consolidation. Consolidate the .python script. It's almost specifically made for P-tuple users / miners because it takes an X amount of outputs under a small amount limit and basically combines them over time for you, so you don't have to do it yourself, and you don't have to mess with the fees with consolidation prices. The small amount which I mentioned is by default 0.001 XMR, and it targets to consolidate balances of each output to 0.01 XMR. There is no weekly measure for this. P2P users can run this forever, and they will have better handle over their money instead of messing with such little outputs. moving into the usage of it, there's of course 3 files that I mentioned. 1 second. So we have churn, the consolidate, and the fracture.py here. If we see RPC user and RPC password variables, they have a user and a password value. Currently, the user has to paste their user and password of their RPC here in the files, but I will make an update to them. So there is an account.json that replaces these values, and you just need to put your credentials there.
Okay.
Then you need to download the latest Python from their official site, python.org. For Windows users, I don't recommend downloading Python from Microsoft Store because it's really outdated. I think it's Python 7.3, which is there, and we are, I think, at 3.7, and realistically, the latest is about 3.11, I think. So it's a bit old. For Linux and macOS users, you need to open a terminal interface, and for Windows, you need to open a command prompt. Then you type pip, or if it doesn't work, pip3. Sometimes it gets messed up by the path. Install Python dash Monerotopia, and you start a script by typing python3 script name.py. And after that, basically, if you've entered the credentials into the file, you are already using the script. You just need to wait for it to churn, fracture, or consolidate the outputs of yours. The credits of him I already showed, but it's this GitHub link if anyone wants to use the scripts.
Very cool. Very cool. Tux, you got any technical questions?
No, I'd just be curious about the main difference of this implementation versus Pocket Change. I'm not. Maybe it's how often it happens and how spread apart it is or something. But I'm not sure.
Of course. I'm going to ask him right now if he wants to jump on.
Yeah. Maybe he could jump on. We can move it along to keep the show going, and if he wants to jump on, that'd be awesome, and he can answer some questions.
Sure, I messaged him.
Sweet.
That'd be fine. I'm not sure where our guest went. He's not in the backstage anymore.
Oh no, we lost your guest.
Yeah.
Oof.
No shit. Alrighty, we can.
I just messaged him, so I'll see if he'll.
Okay. We can proceed to viewers on stage.
Sure.
And then do the news, I guess, with people up. Do that.
All right. Viewers on stage.
It's the Viewers on Stage segment. It's that time where we invite you, the viewers, up on stage to comment on anything you've heard so far today, ask the guest a question, or maybe talk about one of the news topics. Come on down.
Come on up. Shortwave Surfer, how's it going, man?
It goes. I do have a question for the person with the development segment.
Sure.
So why would I use this versus doing it myself? For example, if I have, say, 1 Monero worth of, if I have 1 Monero in my wallet, what I can do in Cake Wallet is set up a template to send back to myself 0.1 Monero, and I can just say I want 10 of those, and I can just get 10 0.1 Monero outputs. And then Cake Wallet also allows now coin control, where you can say I want to send 0.3 XMR, for example, and you can select which output you want specifically that 0.3 to come from. So like I can select a 0.4 output instead of a 1.0 output.
I think Speckle meant it because the automation. So you said that you are able to set up a template, but it's automated, so you don't have to mess it with yourself.
Ah, okay. So the automation is really the only reason that you would do that versus just I can do it manually.
In my opinion, yes, but Speckle might think different. I just messaged him. He said that he will come on. He's getting ready.
Cool. Okay.
Good, great question. Great question.
Hello?
Yeah, well,
Hello.
Andres, can you hear us?
Yes. Hi guys, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Tux, want to run the special guest segment?
Sure, let's do it.
The Monerotopia guest segment is sponsored by Cake Wallet. Store, send, receive, and exchange your Monero and Bitcoin safely on iOS and Android too. Cake Wallet is open source, and you always control your own keys.
All right, Andres, we had to give you a proper intro there since you're our special guest this week. What's going on, man? Where are you?
Yeah, glad you were able to get back on.
Yes. Please tell us about yourself. Tell us about what's going on.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, a little bit quiet, but yeah, we can hear you.
Yes. Sorry, I'm having some troubles with my mic and the internet today has been a hard day for me, but because it's my first time in an interview in English. I am a teacher Spanish in Venezuela.
All right.
Well, and today is my birthday también as well. Well, I'm very excited to be here with you.
Wait, did you say it's your birthday as well? Is that what you said?
Yeah, today is my birthday.
Oh, nice.
Feliz
Awesome.
cumpleaños. Happy birthday, man. Happy birthday.
Gracias.
Yeah, so take your time. I know
today is it's a challenge for me, really.
No worries. Take your time. We want to get you on here. We want to hear what's going on. Take your time. Speak as slowly as you need to speak. Don't stress. Maybe we could have Andres jump up too to help if he's around. I see him in the comments. I don't know if he wants to jump up, but he might be able to help translate for you. But go ahead and give it your best shot and tell us about the fundraiser you're doing for Monero in Venezuela.
Okay, my experience in cryptocurrencies has been started since 2017. At that time, I leave my work. I am telecommunications engineer in Venezuela, but at this time it was very rough for me, and I started to do some tasks in internet. And at that time, I tried to do survive online. They pay for PayPal, and I started to buy Bitcoin BTC. At that time, you can buy Bitcoin paying with PayPal. I don't remember the page, but they discontinued the service, and I forget the idea to use cryptocurrencies again. 2 years ago, with inflation and the notes Bolivares don't have very the inflation has been less, the notes has less value, han perdido valor, no, they are pushing the people to use another notes like dollars.
Yes.
In Venezuela, very few people use Bolivares because they have no value, very few value. People who use Bolivars here are people to use public transport, public buses, just for pay tickets, not for pay food, not for pay computers, electronics, some things.
The currency
It's
worthless. It's not worth anything.
It's worthless. Yes, you need
Just keeps.
a lot of nodes to pay some things.
Mhm.
I have this posting in the promotion of my campaign, the some nodes and the value of each one. The biggest node at this time just has the value of $2-3. This time, since two or 3 months ago, I see a challenge in internet. I remember DK who's his back is the username, and he's promoting some challenge to use Monero. He posts a reward for the best idea to promote Monero at this moment.
Amazing.
I participate in that challenge. I took the second place. The community has to vote. My idea was the second one. Just for 1%, I lost the challenge. The challenge, el reto. And I'm very sad because I can have the reward, but I stay in the community and I regroup my ideas, and I posted this new campaign, this new effort for me and my friends that has been motivated to use Monero in Venezuela.
Awesome. Tux, who did he say the guy was that ran the contest? That was did you pick up on that?
I can't
Okay.
remember his name now, of course.
But we got to have him on. He hasn't been on in a while.
Guess who is back?
Guess who's back?
Yes,
Right.
Drunk Dial Me. Thank you.
Yeah. Usually he hangs out in the Twitter space. Cool. Yeah, that's so what was your proposal? You said you came in second place for your idea. What was the idea?
My idea this time, I started 2 months ago with a friend in Caracas, Venezuela. He has an electronic and computer parts store. And at this moment, we onboard some users to pay with Monero, but because the few people know about Monero, we started to give a gift card that has some Monero in the private seat, no? And the private seat, you can claim the Moneros.
So you were giving out cards with
at this
Moneros.
time, yes, we look for some gift papers, and we recharge with $5 of Monero. And when you go to buy some things that he sells, like phones, like graphic cards or something like this, you have the opportunity to receive some Monero and can use it in the store as well.
Awesome. Fantastic. And so now you've done a proposal on Kuno, correct? To raise money?
The proposal is to onboard 20 merchants. We have started with some merchants now, but we have some surprises. We keeping forward the campaign, and we'll be posting the news and new merchants that we have been onboarding.
Tux, can you bring up?
Yeah, let me bring that up. I got
the La Fortaleza.
All right. Yeah, you're doing a great job, by the way. Thanks for having the courage to come up here and talk about this, given that you know English isn't your first language. You're doing fantastic. So we're bringing up the website so people can see it. By the way, Kuno, I'm seeing a lot of amazing things on there, right, Tux? I'm like,
Yeah,
there's
there's a lot of stuff on here.
A lot of action, and a lot of things kind of like this, which is really cool. This is built by Anarchio. He's actually helping us. He's building XMR Bazaar for us. He's doing a lot of amazing, great work for the Monero community, Anarchio. So yeah, here we are. We got come with us to onboard 20 merchants in Venezuela. The main goal is to educate 20 merchants, independent professionals about how to use Monero as a reliable P2P cash option and how to use for remittances in Caracas, Venezuela. Very cool. So you're looking for how much? You're looking for six Monero. And then with that, you're going to try to essentially educate 20 different merchants on how to accept and use Monero. Correct?
Yeah.
Andres? Yes. Okay.
And we will be we will do some survey about how to use Monerujo or use Kai Wallet, and show what is the advantage and what is the disadvantage, and receive the information for the users and share the feedback of everyone.
Is there a decent? I mean, we've been hearing about Venezuela for many years in the crypto space as being the ideal place for cryptocurrency adoption, much like we were talking about Argentina, but perhaps even more extreme in why it would be a fertile ground for organic crypto adoption, given the inflation rate of the currency. What is it like there in terms of crypto adoption? Are there a lot of people using cryptocurrency for these purposes?
At this time, I think there is a lot of people know about cryptocurrencies, but sometimes there are a lot of scams, and the main media stream remark the scams over the real use of the cryptocurrencies. I think Monero has a big potential because there are a very difficult times to keep privacy and keep untraceable transactions in Venezuela. There are a lot of security problems. The government is very hard with
I know another thing that really put Venezuela on the map in terms of cryptocurrency was in the early days, a lot of people were mining Bitcoin in Venezuela, especially given access to cheap electricity. Do you have anything to say about that? Anything that you experienced with that or witnessed with that, or what the state of mining is like currently in Venezuela? Are there a lot of people that try to mine crypto? Oh, did he freeze?
Yeah, it looks like it.
Oh no.
He doesn't have reliable internet.
Okay.
It's a little bit rough. This is great though. Yeah, I mean, I put the link in the comments. You can. Yeah, it looks like he.
All right. Well, hopefully if he hears us, you're welcome to join anytime, man. If not today, another time. You could always jump up. We'd love to continue to
shout
hear
out to his fundraiser. This is legit. This is the one he is actually running. So your money isn't just going to some random person who's lying about whatever.
Can you throw up a QR code right now on the screen? Is that possible?
This is it. Right? This is right here. Yep.
Oh, there it is. Sweet. Yeah.
Here, I'll make it a little bigger. There you go. Just scan that.
I'm gonna try to do it right now. Let's see if I can do it. Dude, Anarchio is doing God's work, right? I mean, Kuno.
Dude, this is like this is like the first of a first, honestly.
Yeah. All right. I'm gonna send a little bit here.
Probably won't show up immediately, but there's There's a script for this that runs in the background, I think every 5 minutes, and it checks for transactions. So in a few minutes. Yeah, donations are synced every 5 minutes.
Yeah, I love the way Kuno is built, right? It's
And I
really
think you can even add a comment if you if you put in your TX ID and the key, you can put in a public comment because you have to prove
oh
you paid
sweet.
it.
Well, I just
if you
sent
want to do that, you don't have to. You can just donate directly.
yeah, I just sent 0.1 XMR. So we should now it will show as a separate donation though, right? I guess, but just without any.
It will, yeah, without any comment information. Totally anon, dude.
I love it. I love what Anarchio.
But I guess
Up to.
most people haven't realized that you can do that.
Yes, which is very cool. You're just using the
You
transaction.
don't have
ID.
to. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, hopefully he'll jump. Hopefully he'll get his funding, guys.
He's back. Welcome
Hey,
back.
man. Andres. He's frozen. I think we get that. Yeah. Doesn't make for good Monerotopia TV. But we definitely should try to get him up again. I have a lot of questions about Venezuela. I don't know.
Cool. That's awesome.
Maybe that becomes where we do the next Monero. I don't even know. Is it like
that'd be interesting?
Caracas. I remember my friend went down there many years ago. It's always been an enticing place to visit. Obviously,
Argentina has inflation, but Venezuela, they've got inflation.
Right? I mean, it's like people from
that, in
Venezuela want to go to Argentina. And they're like, you think that's inflation? You want to come hang out over there?
In all the Western countries, ours is like it's bad, but like it pales in comparison to these other.
It's so sad. I mean, it is an attack on the people that live there.
Yeah.
They just can't live day to day. Their government has destroyed their lives with fiat that they just make worthless. Very sad to see. And here in New York, we have a lot of Venezuelans that have been coming up. Everybody's talking about the immigrants coming up. A large percentage of them are from Venezuela, and I certainly understand why people are getting out of Dodge. But who knows? 10, 15, 20 years from now, it may look like a completely different place because of cryptocurrency. If the crypto dream really plays out and the value proposition really lives up to what it's supposed to do, eventually cryptocurrency in one form or another is going to fix Venezuela. I think it will happen.
That would be awesome to see.
Yeah. I mean, it's gonna take time, right? You're up against tyrants with guns, but over the long course of time, I think you'll see it happen. People are gonna opt out. So I guess we'll continue back with the regular show. If you want to bring people back up, and we could do the news, right?
All right. Yep. If you want to join, if you're in the backstage, you want to join, just type 1 in the private chat. I'll add you up.
Sweet. Yeah.
It looks like Andres is back again.
All right. You can bring him
Tony
back
said
up.
he has 20 minutes for the news, so we should probably get him on that.
All right.
Oh, it looks like Spackle's there too.
Hi guys.
Hey, Andres.
Hey, welcome back.
Yeah, I guess the internet's not working too well, which is okay.
My internet's very unstable. Yeah.
No worries. We could have you jump on another time too. Anything you want to? Any last words you want to put out there just for today while your internet's still working right now? Any information you want to get out there?
Yes, I thank you for the opportunity. This is my first time in any show ever, and I'm very excited to be in the Monero community. I hope to. This is not the one campaign. I hope to keep it forward, step forward, and go ahead with new ideas and new projects in the future. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you.
I just want to show. I just reloaded the page. It went from like 2 XMR to 4.7.
Oh, look at that, bro! Look, check that out. Does he see?
Insane. That is the
Monero
community for you.
Andres, look, you're up to almost 5 XMR now.
Somebody just donated 3 point. Some anon just donated 3.5 XMR.
Was that you, Tux? Come on, I know you have a heart of gold.
That was not me. I donated not that much.
Somebody, there's always somebody in the
Wow.
There you go, man. We'll I love this. We'll keep
Thank you
doing
so much
this.
to speed up the work.
Yes,
It's a
thank you, man.
Huge support. Thank you.
Thank you for taking the initiative. And will you be showing us, kind of proof of the work that you've accomplished? Or is it like the the vendors that you've onboarded, the merchants?
Yes, I hope to create a thread with all the merchants in the next month. I hope to deliver all the pics and some videos about the onboard project and the new users, not just merchants, because we don't have just merchants without users. To have an organic adoption, we need to onboard users and merchants.
And you'll be posting, you're saying like a video or something showing the merchants that you've onboarded. Is that what you said?
Yes, I hope to make a compilation of all merchants in the future, but in the next day I will be posting one by one.
Okay, fantastic. I got to ask you, what is the state of Caracas like right now? If I wanted to go down there and visit, or people wanted to come and visit, what is it like for visitors, for tourists?
For tourists, Caracas, for me, is the best place in Venezuela to visit, because the government try to keep safe and keep be very careful with the service and some places to tourists enjoy quietly, but the rest of the country is very down, very descuidado. It's another reality. Caracas is one reality. The rest of the country is other reality.
Okay. So yeah, so it's obviously it's the safest part of Venezuela right now. Certain parts of Caracas,
yes.
right? Where,
yes.
And then the rest of the country is just in extreme poverty. Are there people holding like crypto events in Caracas? Are people doing that, like meetups and
meetups? There are another communities like Bitcoin, Dash, but Monero has doesn't have a lot of engagement right now. But the most of people know about cryptocurrencies. The P2P market in Binance is huge. I think one day they move around $100,000 in Venezuela.
All right, very cool, man. All right, well, definitely keep us posted. We want to see how things turn out. So, looks like you'll get your funding, and good luck with that. And then maybe you could jump back on the show in a couple of weeks and let us know how it goes, and you can show us some videos, and we can keep helping you build up the momentum there in Venezuela. All right?
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you so much for coming on.
For sure.
Thank you, man. Yeah, that goes to anybody, right? That's doing a Kuno, that's trying to fundraise. You're always welcome to come on the show and explain yourself and talk about it and let us know what you're working on. This is what we're all about. Let's get the word out.
Go ahead and jump in the news while Tony's still here.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
And now for our weekly news segment.
All right, Tony.
All right. Once again,
Hey,
let me know
guys.
if you want to come on if you're in the backstage.
We got people coming in from all over the world today. All over the world.
Okay, let's let me share the screen. One second. Okay, so actually, Alaskanon said that there are still a bunch of donations that are on chain but not on the page yet, but he's fully funded. So I guess Andres is fully funded as of now.
All right.
1 second, let me refresh the page. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, he's almost fully funded. But yeah, so let's get into the news section while we are on the topic of Kuno and poor Latin American internet. Let's discuss Cuba. So XMR Future posted a link from Kuno, which said, and he wrote, "Let's help a fellow Monero user from Cuba route around censorship and distribute a few USB sticks in his community so they can do the same." And oh my god, this is so bright. So the title says, "A Cuban warrior seeking support for freedom. Hey guys, my name is Jose. I'm a student of medicine in Cuba, very interested in privacy and freedom. I'm born in Cuba 22 years ago. Maybe it's not the best place for freedom and privacy, but I love my family." So basically what he's saying is that he has poor internet and he tried to research about Tails and Tor, but he can't because these pages are blocked to download directly from the public internet controlled by the national telecommunications. The wages are low and internet restriction is very high on the island, so he plans to buy 1 terabyte HDD to storage downloads and 5 10 gigabyte USB sticks to install Tails. This allows me, he said, share some USB Tails pens with some friends in my community to create awareness about use internet against tracking, surveillance, and censorship. And he details all the costs. And it's
That's a great
campaign. Yep.
So he's basically trying to help people get access to Tor so they can get on the internet anonymously and not get blocked, get around the firewalls essentially.
Mm-hmm.
That's really cool. Yeah, but who is the guy? Do we have a name of the person?
Jose, just Jose.
Jose. Yeah, Jose. If you're out there, jump on the show next week. Have you on? You can tell us all about it. Sure.
Yeah, can you imagine if this actually grows from him and his friends to, I mean, not the whole country, but a good amount? That'll be insane. But he also wrote, "Help me to create awareness about use internet against tracking, surveillance, and censorship living in dictatorship," which is still happening in Cuba. So, which is very sad.
Wait a second. Is he in the U.S.? Because if not, then I can't see how he would jump on the show.
Until he gets this.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's good point.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's a very good point. I don't think we've had anybody calling like on the show from Cuba, right? I don't think we've had that yet.
I don't think so, but that'll be cool if Jose could hop on.
Figure that out as long as he stays safe, doesn't put himself in danger.
Right.
That would be super cool.
The border of Cuba on the water is allegedly, I'm not saying anyone should do anything sketchy, but it should theoretically be close enough to use a microwave antenna. Just saying.
That's true.
It's the next fundraise.
Microwave, yeah. Yeah, but let's move on. The next article. So Untraceable said, if you can code, check out Bounties Monero Social and earn some cash. So let's open the link. And essentially, if you can code, go on Monero Bounties, and there's a lot of bounties for you. The first one is Nostra Client for Monero. There's big projects such as this one. There are smaller ones. You can get 7.4 Moneros for this one. Then we have 2 fish addition to Monero, 0.8. So if you do have any skills and you do find something that you can help with, then please do. Even Cake Wallet, I think this is from Cake Wallet. They need help, and they'll pay you 1.7 Monero to do so. So if you have any skills, go ahead and hop on. And also, if you want to be the operation manager of Cakelabs, they are hiring. And they wrote, this is a unique opportunity to help set the strategic direction of for Quick Wallet. So for more info, they wrote a whole post on Reddit about the pay and what responsibilities you will have in the job.
Yeah, that looks like an amazing opportunity for somebody to really take a leadership role at Cake. So yeah, definitely check that out, people. I'm sure there'll be a lot of people applying to that. Wow, so many things. What was the? I'm sorry, Tony. The website before. What is it? What is the URL for the bounties?
It's called bounties.monero.social.
Yeah, I mean, here just another example. We're seeing so much action right now in Monero in terms of community participation. It's getting hard to keep up with things. All these Kuno fundraisers, these bounties that are going up. It's actually hard to believe, right? I mean, I don't know. I didn't think we would be this far at this point, to be honest. So
just to throw it out there for the average listener, people like myself who coding makes you want to claw your eyes out. Don't forget that these things are funded from someone somewhere. You can pledge your treasure or your time in a lot of these things, and it goes really, really far. Because the people who do all of this coding, they got to eat, and you would be amazed at how a couple $100 in an envelope or something like that can really get a lot of these projects knocked out. So you can contribute to these bounties as well financially, or you can contribute your time to just make people that you know in your life aware that they even exist.
Yeah, have we seen some successful bounties funded here? Have there been any big ones?
Doug, you're averaging 2 a week on your show right now.
For sure, because this website is actually pretty old. I think it's because I think I was on it last year or something. So so yeah, for sure. And yeah,
I'm curious how it's been doing. Fantastic. All right, well we'll have to keep bringing that up throughout. Tony, keep bringing that one up in the future.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because it has a lot of cool stuff. And the thing is, they also update the bounty as well. Like the initial one was increased by 0.1, then 0.03, then 0.03 again. So it's really cool.
Awesome.
Now let's see. Someone donated 0.1 Monero. Cool. So we're getting closer and closer to the 6 Monero goal for Andreas. Okay, so now let's watch a video of U.S. President Biden saying that he has been to every mass shooting.
After every mass shooting, we hear a simple message. It's the same message all over the country. I've been to every mass shooting. Do something.
Okay, so why am I showing this video? So according to Biden, he's been to every single mass shooting. He's also been there on the day of 9/11, I think the day of or the day after when it happened. And the comment section is kind of funny. I feel bad for him at this point. And he survived. What's his diagnosis? He's losing it. This guy pretends to be omniscient and omnipresent. He's been every single event. I wouldn't be surprised if the next thing he says that he's been on a boat with Christopher Columbus discovering America.
What is the emotional expression on his face right now? Can anybody tell me what that expression means?
Diarrhea, I think. Yeah, so he's losing it.
Change his diaper.
You know those old man Muppets, the grumpy guys up in the balcony, and they're just talking a bunch of shit. Like he looks like those old Muppet guys from. Does anybody know what I'm talking about?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, but I can't believe he's running again. It's crazy, and if he somehow wins again, and this doesn't mean that I want a specific person to win, or but if he specifically wins again, it's crazy. I don't think he will. But
there's just no way that he wants it as a person. I mean, there's just he's like it's cruel and cruel punishment. It's like keeping this guy.
If he wins, it's clearly the deep state, because there's no way that he could win on his own.
Well, do we
Yeah.
really think that he won to begin with?
Ooh,
Most
good point.
likely. I mean, imagine he wins and then he makes this face. Not again.
Don't get another show banned, Tux.
Yeah, let's.
Fair
Well,
and balance. Fair
he
and
already
balance.
got-
We're
like-
all
he
about
already
that
got
free
it.
speech ban.
He already got it banned because he criticized the vax earlier, so it's already been banned. He can't. It's already
It's
going to
too
be
late.
banned.
We're gonna lose this channel any day now, guys.
Yeah,
any
let's move
day
on.
now.
Let's
We'll
move
Prepare
on.
to go to Odyssey, everybody.
Moving
We're gonna
on
move
to
on
even
Spotify.
more controversial things that we support here on the show.
We're gonna move to Spotify for the next episode. Well, that might be better. Like Joe Rogan. So now let's discuss Liberland. So I'm gonna tell you a quick description of Liberland, and then we're gonna play this video of President Vit Jedlicka. I think that's how you pronounce his name.
We had them on the show, by the way. We met them in Prague at Monerotopia. One of the guys who helped start Liberland was on the show explaining it.
I'm an e-citizen of there.
Which is crazy. So
You're a
basically,
citizen?
I'm an e-citizen. They you pay for citizenship, and you get like an ID card and access to like some actual citizen benefits that you can't get otherwise. So
Awesome.
I have like an actual ID card from there and shit like that.
so you're
Actually,
a
yeah.
dual citizen to Liberland.
Tell us all about it. Actually, give us the quick take. Since what is Liberland?
Liberland is the republic, and it's between Serbia and Croatia in this little no man's land that nobody wanted since like the 1990s and the breakup of I think it was not Soviet Union, but like there was a big thing and they broke it up, and there's this piece of land that nobody wanted. They've actually started settling it, I think, physically. They crossed the border, and I believe they're actually in the process of starting to build now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I guess Tony, that's the story, right? That's because something happened, right? They've been attacked.
Yeah, so let's actually play the video from the president itself of Liberland. But Doug, that actually makes you a dual citizen. That's pretty cool. So let's play this video. It's like 1 minute.
Dear Liberlanders and free citizens of the world, Liberland is facing unprecedented attack by Croatian authorities. Yesterday, a group of Croatian policemen and people from the forestry came and confiscated all personal property on territory of Liberland. They have also brutally destroyed all our buildings, including the building for Liberland security. We are calling on international community as well as on Croatian politicians and Croatian institutions to stop this madness. It is unnecessary, unprovoked act of violence against our peaceful nation, against our borders, and against our sovereignty. We hope this is the last incident in our long-lasting relations, and we are announcing the construction of hotel, new marina project, as well as a huge adventure park in the center of Liberland. We were expecting this, but we didn't expect that you guys are coming without any paperwork and that you are coming in such a brutal manner. Let's look into bright future together, Croatia and Liberland, and let's build a better future together. Thank you very much, and I'm looking forward to host you in Liberland soon.
That's crazy. That's insane. The Croatian, I guess, government just sent police to attack Liberland, which, it's a peaceful nation. Like, they haven't done anything other than promoting liberty, and so it's insane. I hope it's not gonna happen again, but if it does, Liberland might need to become Gunland to protect itself from them.
You know that meme about like, oh, if you don't like it, start your own social media. If you don't like it, start your own bank. If you don't like it, start your own country. And,
yeah.
And then if you don't like, and it's like the farther you follow this chain of events down, the more overt it gets. But the real beauty of all of it is it eliminates that sorry about that. It eliminates the ability to hide the actual intentions of the authoritarians.
Right.
I reached out to the guy we interviewed at Monerotopia. Maybe we'll get him to jump on at some point.
Yeah, that'll be awesome if you can, especially after what happened. It'll be cool to get more information from him. But if anybody from the official government of Croatia is watching this video, stop attacking Liberland. Leave them alone.
If they need to, they can always 3D print some guns.
Yeah, they can, and they probably should. Okay, so now let's get into a different topic. So this is facial recognition to board a plane in Houston. I'm not gonna play the whole video, but essentially, okay, let's play the video. This part. So essentially, you scan your face and then you are ready to go. And I've done those stuff before because they have it all over Germany in all the airports. And you scan your passport, in my case, and then also your face, and then you're good to go, which is very crazy, honestly. And you can bypass it because you have to scan your passport, and then you have to go for that as well if you want to go board your plane. So you have to do it. You can't just bypass it. So it's very unfortunate.
Isn't there already a thing for facial recognition called like Clear or something in airports? Is that what this is, or is this something different? I think it's called Clear.
Yeah, there's Clear. There's a couple of I think there's two of them. I don't know what this one is, but like, it's coming. It's coming to an an airport country near you. It's everywhere. It's global. It's happening. They're normalizing it.
I've been to 3 airports in Germany: Berlin, Munich, Frankfurt, and they all have it. So I think it's all over Germany at least.
On my way to Mexico, they did that on one of the Delta.
Oh, really?
Yeah, in the U.S.
You should have put an anonymous mask.
No, I mean, I would have tried to refuse, but it happened so quickly, I didn't have a chance.
Now, the dumb thing is that at least with Clear, you have to pay a subscription fee to be part of Clear. So not only do you get your face scanned, but you get the permission to give them freaking, I think it's like $50 or $100 a year to have this service that lets you get through lines faster.
Yeah, well, it's like anything else, right? It's they sell it as more convenient, and you inevitably lose privacy.
Like that TSA quick pass thing, whatever that's called, right?
Yeah, that's what he's talking about. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's what you're talking about. Okay.
Yeah, there's different versions of that. Clear is one of them.
At least if it wasn't forced, I mean, that's bad still, but at least if you weren't forced, like if you really wanted to, you can pay, but if you don't want to be part of it, that's okay. But in Germany, I think I don't think you can get past, I may be wrong, but I think you can get passed through it unless you show your face. So yeah, it's very unfortunate. Now let's play this video as well, and then it's kind of funny. So it's just 30 seconds.
You're still wearing your engagement ring, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah?
I'm gonna give it back to him. Do you want it now?
Sure. I mean,
Don't give it back. Well, no, I'm not gonna keep it. What? Here.
Thank you. That's a Bitcoin.
Okay, so I'm not sure if this is true, but imagine like if you said, "Thank you, that's 150 Monero right there,"
right.
instead of Bitcoin. But I'm not sure if this is actually true. If this is actually true, that's pretty badass, honestly. Even if he said Bitcoin instead of Monero, that's still pretty badass.
We're getting there.
We're getting there slowly. So 95% of the NFT market, as we all know, is now worthless. New report shows, and it's just very sad that so much money, like millions, tens of millions, maybe hundreds of millions of dollars, went into these NFTs, which they could have been into Monero instead. Not that NFT is a bad thing, but people turn NFTs into apes and monkeys and bananas and all this stuff, which have no inherent value, instead of being redirected to something like Monero. So yeah, and if 95% of them are now worthless, which is not shocking.
I am not surprised at all.
Yeah.
Luckily I don't own any of those.
Now, even more depressing, in the 48 hours since, U.S. debt has increased by $47 billion. That's $1 billion in new debt every hour. So every single hour that passes, the U.S. adds $1 billion more to the debt. which is crazy. It's a lot. So we're adding trillions in no time. For those keeping tabs, the US added 1 trillion in debt in 3 months. So yeah, I guess every 3 months you get 1 more trillion added to the debt, which is a lot of money. It's a lot of money.
Just can't even fathom.
Now, if a state secedes from the United States, like New Hampshire and Texas really want to, if they do so and they succeed, they are not responsible for the U.S. debt, because there's something in international law that says that a place that secedes from a bigger place is not responsible for that larger place's debt.
What if all states? I mean, what if all states do that?
Then I guess the only person the only entity responsible for the debt would be DC itself, because when they say the United States,
right,
like they're really talking about DC. When they talk about the United States of America, they're talking about all 50 states. But if the United States debt is 50 or whatever $1 trillion, then that would mean that DC is responsible for paying it only.
When you take out collateral with a U.S. debt bond, it's actually classified as a corporate bond. They pretend to be a sovereign bond, but it is actually a corporate bond that's done in DC. So they openly admit that it's not a sovereign bond when you use it for collateral.
Yeah, but it's such a large amount of money. I think Apple is just worth 2 trillion. And
it actually makes up about 1/3 of the average taxpayer's hourly income.
Yeah, that's a large amount of money. I think.
And I mean the rate of increase. Like for every hour you work, 1/3 of it is just fresh debt. It's not even the interest. It's just the new debt.
That's a large amount. But
we'll be Venezuela soon.
Yeah,
exactly. That would really be very bad. But essentially, the monetary and fiscal policy of the U.S. in one sentence: they printed 8 trillion, gave you 1,400 per month, and sent the rest to their friends and left you with inflation. And someone said we had to pay back the 1,400 come tax season, which is the biggest damn scam.
Yeah, the inflation has just been astronomical.
But it was well orchestrated. So the last 3 things that I'm gonna bring up for this week's news is some CBDC news. The first is on Kazakhstan. So they established regulatory agency to implement CBDC. So the National Bank of Kazakhstan, NBK, has established a separate entity to themselves to lead the development and implementation of the country's CBDC, the digital tenge. According to an official statement on September 15th, the National Payment Corporation, NPC, is a reorganization of the Kazakhstan Center of Interbank Settlements. And essentially, the NPC will also be responsible for the development of digital financial infrastructure, including the implementation of the digital tenge. And they have a launch deadline set for 2025. So a lot of countries have this 2025 deadline for their CBDCs. Kazakhstan is one of them. They actually work with Binance as well. And meanwhile, in the US, it's kind of interesting the turn that we are having currently. The US anti-CBDC bill moves a step closer to passing. So the CBDC Anti-Surveillance State Act, aimed at preventing a Federal Reserve from issuing a central bank digital currency, has passed the House Financial Services Committee. The CBDC Anti-Surveillance State Act, aimed at preventing unelected bureaucrats in Washington from issuing a CBDC, has taken one step further on its procedural journey after it passed the House Financial Services Committee. And last week we talked about Tom Emmer. We talked about in the past about JFK. But essentially, Emmer said that American values, this is what the future global digital economy needs, if not open, permissionless, and private, just like cash or Monero. A CBDC is nothing more than CCP, which is a Chinese Communist Party style surveillance tool that can be weaponized to oppress the American way of life, and of course that it's going to be used in such ways. And Emmer and 49 original co-sponsors reintroduced the CBDC Anti-Surveillance State Act. And also, Emmer stressed that the bill has already gained the support of 60 members of Congress, which is a good amount. 60 is a good amount of people. So it's not just Tom Emmers and JFK and then Robert Kennedy. Sorry. Yeah, thought about something else. That are supporting this. That there's 60 other members as well, and maybe even more. So yeah, it's very good to hear. And now, redefining money, America's digital currency dilemma. As the United States House Financial Services Committee looks to further impede the introduction of the digital dollar, where does this resistance to a CBDC stem from? They talked about DeSantis, Kennedy, them running for presidency, and how a CBDC will never happen under their administration, and they don't want it. And that on Wednesday, September 20th, which is just a couple of days ago, the United States House Financial Services Committee marked up 2 bills to curb the issuance of a CBDC. One of the bills would stop the Federal Reserve from running any test programs on CBDCs without congressional approval, so they would need approval to run any more tests, while the other would stop federal banks from using CBDCs for some services and products. And they discussed that, and as we all know, and we discussed in the past, more than 130 countries were at some stage of research into a CBDC, so a lot of countries want CBDCs. 8 had rejected the idea outright, and the US is kind of battling between wanting CBDCs, not wanting CBDCs at a very high level. So yeah, CBDC would mean that the Federal Reserve would effectively oversee all the bank transfers in the country, as there will be no alternative. And importantly, and having everything under one roof means one mistake or failure would affect everyone rather than be limited to one bank, for instance. So it would be a huge change. And then one more thing, President Joseph Biden, of course, said his administration would place the highest urgency on research and development efforts into the potential design and deployment options of a United States CBDC. So
got a big war going on.
We can count on Biden.
Yeah. And
then they talk about privacy, right?
Yeah, they talk about privacy, and they talk about Project Hamilton, and which is from Federal Reserves, and they studied the viability of a CBDC and how it got to process 1.7 million transactions per second, light years ahead of the Bitcoin blockchain, and quicker even than Visa, which can deal about 65 transactions per second. But even if you have a lot of transactions per second, it's hard to have high transaction amount, decentralization, and privacy and all this stuff. So they just have a lot of transactions per second. It's not decentralized, it's centralized, and you also don't have privacy. So, of course, like other projects in the crypto space, you can have 10 billion transactions per second and not have the other important factors. But yeah.
And I guess the article's concluding that CBDC development in the U.S. does seem to have stymied, given
yes, it did. Yeah, it did mention that. Yeah, it did. So
that's good news, right? For whatever reason, people are waking up to that, which is great. It's good, and it's ultimately good for digital cash for Monero, right? It's opening up people's eyes to this need for true digital cash. People are realizing the importance of that. That's why.
But then what if,
or you can open up an account at NPC Bank in Kazakhstan. It's literally called NPC. Like, it's could they be a more living meme of the absolute absurdity of clown world right now?
National Payment Corporation. Yeah. But what if we are not gonna have a CBDC in the US? And then we're going to have the digital euro. That's going to be crazy because there's such two big entities. So it's going to be interesting. If we're not going to have CBDCs, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And yeah.
We shall see. I'm sure we will have them. We will have them eventually here in the US. They'll be, because they're going to have to compete. Like you said, they're going to have to compete with other countries here that are trying to create something.
I'm going to be quick because I really want to hear from Spackle. But
yeah, let's get
I
Spackle.
would point out that actually not adopting a CBDC and also having a history of being a reserve currency would put the US in a way better position for competing with the world, not the other way around. And I'd like to also point out that all these people that got these ill-gotten gains from their connections to like Raytheon and Blackwater and all that other stuff, they're like terrified that all of their money is going to be on chain and they're going to be able to shut these people down. Most of the people that are fighting against the CBDC, it's probably because it would be so easy for them to be compromised if their money was no longer secure. And all we really need to do is send them a Monero pamphlet and be like, bro, your ill-gotten gains are safe with us, man. Don't worry about it.
The government has to have somewhere to launder their money. Black budgets and stuff like that can't exist without some sort of privacy, and therefore there's got to be some way of keeping money private, and a CBDC wouldn't allow it.
We shall see. Spackle, you there?
Yeah, hello everyone. Is my audio okay?
Yeah, it's great.
Fantastic.
Perfect. So, yeah, I know you got an introduction to the scripts I wrote earlier. If you want to spend the last couple minutes just kind of typing out bullet points, if you want, I can just kind of dive into what I was thinking and hopefully explain it in a little more detail.
Yeah, please do.
Okay, so yeah, first point, pocket change is great. Like, especially after the update that they pushed a month ago. From the moment I saw it, I really liked the idea, and it got me thinking about how you can approach mitigating the 10 block lock, and maybe how you could do things differently with different trade-offs. Either give people a little bit of insight or just some easily adapted tools that they could use to maybe do it themselves. So along those lines, we're just kind of take a moment to look, or consider what makes transactions stand out, and we're going to do this with maximum paranoia, because these criticisms, I think pocket change is fine, for especially if you're going to a conference just using it, but people they really were throwing around ideas about how you could approach this with maximum paranoia. Yeah. So just general thoughts. No matter how well pocket change codes their approach, there are some limits to having this feature integrated into their mobile wallet, right? The way that it works, my understanding from when I used it, is it's layering these additional transactions on top of transactions that the user themselves is making, right, to initially fund or refund or use the system otherwise. And because of that, that means that the timing of pocket change transactions have to match the user's actual activity. So, you can get into timing analysis, some of the rest of it, it's just a thought there. The other big comment is that, multiple outputs are somewhat uncommon or comparatively uncommon. This isn't an absolute issue, and it's sort of unavoidable if you're trying to match the user's activity. You're at some point going to have to say, okay, well, we're going to get, these 6 outputs available to spend. We're going to need some availability there. So they're kind of, the approach is confined to that. Now, I have solutions for that, but the approach that I took is extremely inconvenient. I don't really expect that most people are going to use this. Most people are not going to run an RPC wallet and Python scripts, and there's other disadvantages I'll go into, I suppose. But the whole idea is, take a different approach that, let's say, quote unquote, would allow you to become the decoy, right? Like Monero has this decoy selection algorithm, and the ideal user behavior is essentially to just be a decoy amongst all the others, indistinguishable, and that's the bottom line. So in order to do that, we have this script, and what it does is, like you say, the intention is you start it with a wallet that has a single output in it, and what it's going to do is it's going to send a split transaction. It's going to half that balance, and it's going to do that recursively, so a couple of times. First it takes your initial balance, and then it'll split it out into 2, so you'll have two outputs that are 1/2 the original, and then it's going to time those differently, so then you get down to a quarter, an eighth, whatever. This is a good advantage because you're never getting away from the 1 in 2 out transaction structure, and that is extremely common. It would, I would say, I guess I haven't done a hard analysis on it, but I would say that is by far the most common type of Monero transaction. If you go to xmrchain.net and you just take a glance at what is being sent over the network, my bet is you're going to see mostly 1 in 2 out, maybe a lot of 2 in 2 out, but it's going to be there. So you're getting that most common type of transaction, and additionally, because it's timing all of these transactions differently, each of these splits is randomly timed according to the decoy selection algorithm, and it does that to a depth of 3 days. So obviously, the Monero chain itself, it'll select decoys that are much older, months, years, whatever, fairly infrequently. But if you look at, the statistics of, or, what we would expect to cover, the majority of the decoys, you're going to get them within the last 3 days. I think it's 50% within 2 days would be what the distribution indicates, and 60% within 3 days. So just kind of targeting, well, let's try to get the most of that distribution while having the wait period be, reasonably short. I just said, okay, give it a 3-day window. The bottom line idea is that if you get all this set up, you get, your RPC wallet going, you're running the script. You do is you set that up. Let's say you're going to Monerotopia. It's a week before. Set it up the weekend before you're leaving. And over the course of that week, this script is going to slowly split through the most common transaction type that's available with timing that is going to match decoy selection exactly, except again, it's got that maximum of 3 days. And at the end of that period, you're going to have a set of outputs that I'm going to say are very difficult to trace back to your original or to associate to each other in any way, shape, or form in a meaningful way. So hopefully that's clear. That's it's sort of a bizarre approach. I'm more than willing to admit it. And just to keep on again, the disadvantages of this. Again, you have this script that is live with your RPC wallet. This is a hot wallet that is being controlled by a script for like a week, maybe longer, maybe shorter, whatever you want to do. And that I can imagine, I would expect, would make a lot of people uncomfortable. It's not a perfect approach, but it's just, again, if we're going to approach the issue of how to mitigate the 10-block lock with absolute maximum paranoia, this leaves an on-chain footprint, let's say, that I think blends in, as well as I could think of how to do it, at least for the level that I looked into writing this. These are, I very frequently say in pretty much everything that I write around Monero, it's I'm a Monero hobbyist. So, I wrote these, on the weekend essentially. So it's not an intense research project by any means. But, there's other, having mentioned the disadvantages, had mentioned the complexity, like I don't really think a lot of people get hands on it. What there is, there's a certain compactness. Each of these scripts, if you go and look at it, it's about 60 lines of Python, give or take. And so if you're looking at pocket change and you have an idea thinking, oh, well, instead of splitting out into 16 outputs that are all the exact same balance, maybe we want some balances to be larger, some to be smaller, so that you don't have to spend for multiples or anything like that. Well, because you can just go to the script and it's 60 lines, I think reasonably well understood. I tried to comment it very thoroughly. If you want to make a change or you want to customize it or try something else out just as a thought experiment or to explore, how this could be done differently, it should be pretty easy. It should be, at least as easy as I know how to make it, right? You can go in, change the logic, play with it. That's sort of the idea. So
very cool that you took this on. Are there other projects you've worked on in Monero?
I mean, nothing where I would consider it a serious contribution. If you go to my GitHub alongside this, I suppose the one big thing that I would hint or point people to is I did a dynamic block demonstration. I really don't think that people have a generally high quality understanding of the scaling algorithm that Monero uses. So very similar thing where it's written up in Python. Arctic Mine actually published a scaling document. And so I just took that, matched the notation exactly, and wrote this script that very quickly can simulate, however many blocks you want to explore, and will generate animations off of that. So if you want to see, hey, let's say Monero has 10 times the transaction volume show up in the course of 2 days, how will it respond to that? How do fees respond to that? How does the penalty look across different blocks? What might the transaction pool look like that? It can graph all of that out, and hopefully that would help people understand it. So that was that I think is useful.
Awesome. I know a question that always gets asked, like so if the Monero network had as many transactions right now as the Bitcoin network, what would things look like in terms of fees and whatnot? Any insight there from what you built?
Certainly. I mean, I'd be inclined. I don't know if anybody. I don't know that I have the inclination to present this myself, but I by the way, I posted this on Reddit along with a write-up quite some time ago, but I have an animation for exactly what I said: 10 times the transaction volume increase in 2 days. And maybe I can just set this here in the chat so that you can take a look at it and show it if you so choose.
Yeah, we could have you come on another time too if you ever want to demo it or something. Alaska Anon, do you have more follow-up questions? What's presented?
Well, I had kind of a thought experiment that I think would be really interesting to hear some people comment on. But if you combine the latest changes in the signal code for like quantum resistance and efficiency and the strengthening of both sides of encryption at the same time, and then what Spackle's doing here, as opposed to what Monero did, because Monero, they have control over their wallet, right? And they're trying to solve problems at the wallet level. But it sounds to me like you could integrate this at the mining and the transaction level. And the thing is it would further anonymize transactions to a point where the kind of work that would be required to reverse engineer transactions would be absolutely mind-boggling. And you wouldn't know if the transaction you're reverse engineering is even going to be of any value to you. So you might be looking for some criminal and then you find out Doug bought some eggs, right? Or you might be looking for some... And what really interests me about all of this together is we're at a crossroads where between Seraphis and Signal and what, the things that, as an example, what Spackle is working on here, where if you integrate all of these upgrades together, the engineering minds of Monero are rapidly outpacing tyranny.
Beautiful.
Now, and I could ask Spackle what I asked earlier.
Sure. Spackle, go ahead. I think you had a response.
Well, so sorry, I don't know if you want to go to the question, if you want to talk about dynamic blocks. I never totally finished answering. You asked if Monero had Bitcoin's transaction volume, what maybe that could look like, or that sort of thing.
Sorry to jump around there. Go ahead.
No, I'm happy to do whatever. But the real bottom line of the dynamic scaling algorithm that I think, I don't know, maybe it's the most helpful to understand is, let's say somebody right now immediately starts spamming the network with transactions that pay nothing but the minimum fee. If you have this massive volume, you're not really going to expect to see the block size increase significantly off of that, because those minimum fees are not sufficient to overcome the penalty that is imposed for expanding the block size. So you may, let's pretend that Monero is going into the circumstance where a bunch of new users are coming in, but they're still paying minimum fees. You're not immediately going to see the block size respond to that, at least not in a dramatic way. There's some details about, there's a grace zone that I think is maybe half of the standard transaction. So, maybe a kilobyte above it, that maybe that would adjust the short-term median. I haven't looked into that. That's more of a smaller detail, and at least you won't see dramatic effects out of that in a short period. But let's say, day one, a bunch of people show up and you start getting congestion. Day two, you're still having a massive transaction volume that isn't processed by the standard 300 kilobyte block size, but now people are willing to pay higher fees. Well, the blocks are going to expand in response to that. And you're going to go through this process where you're fighting the short-term median, right? If you listen to Arctic Mine, he always talks about short-term and long-term median, and then there's some further things about that in terms of how it's analyzed. But you're fighting the short-term median that's going to be moved up, and the amount that it moves up, the speed that it moves up, is dependent entirely on how much extra fees people are willing to pay. If you're looking at the animation that I sent you, that GIF that I posted in the chat, what you're seeing is what's defined in Arctic Mine scaling document as medium fees. So again, not your absolutely insane maximum or anything like that, but medium. And so you get that response to the block size that, bottom line, in the course of, 2 days, it will accommodate for a 10 times increase in the transaction volume. Now, while the block size is expanding, we need those higher fees in order to justify expanding the block. But once the block has expanded, let's say, you have 10 times the users show up and we've now expanded the block. And now there's no longer a need to expand it any further. You clear out the mempool, the congestion clears, and now we're in this place where the short-term median has increased to this new value, you don't need to continue paying all of those high fees to continue the network at that new block size. So if you look at, the bottom left, then you'll see total fees per block, right? You have to pay quite a bit while you're expanding the block size. But once it's expanded, once it's at the new volume, it falls right back down to where it was before. And, there's a few other notes. I'm trying to resist the urge to ramble too much, but you may have heard ArcticMine mention that the fees actually get cheaper whenever the blocks get really large.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's a function of the long-term median. So you're not going to see that immediately. That's going to happen in, the long-term median is of a 100,000 block window. So the medium, assuming, this sort of instantaneous step function of transaction input, you're going to see that about 2 months later where it goes down. But essentially, yeah, you expand the blocks and then you get right back to business as normal. You can pay your minimum fees, your transaction will go in the block. And because you're not trying to expand the blocks, you're not worried about fighting a penalty, and it'll just chug along at that point. So hopefully that's an easy bottom line. Again, congestion shows up. If people are willing to pay, then those higher fees will allow you to expand the block to the new size. It'll clear congestion, and then people can get back to paying their minimums, and it can process, 1 megabyte blocks, with the exact same fee structure that it is today. So that's true across different metrics. I'll avoid rambling too much on it, but
no,
this
is great. I mean, I think we need to have you on a Monero talk or something, man. You have a lot to share. I know we're jumping around because we were originally talking about your other project, but yeah, this is very interesting. So basically, you're saying Monero blockchain can easily handle a 10x increase essentially overnight.
Yeah, I mean, right now yes, that's the bottom line. It can handle much more than that. As a matter of fact, well, it's whatever. I don't know if you want to do dynamic block trivia hour, but one of my favorite statistics is that essentially if you drive this system, if you drive the scaling algorithm as hard as possible, then, well, I suppose maybe I'll just pose it as a question. How much do you think you could increase the block size in the course of 12 hours, right? So you're fighting the short-term median. That's what's going to happen. And what's going to limit you sort of, in the long term or in other maximums is the long-term median primarily, and median, excuse me. And so essentially, if you drive it as hard as possible, it's going to take 12 hours to hit that limit. And what do you think that limit is? Right now we're averaging 50 kilobyte blocks. The default for what Monero will allow without any concern for congestion is 300 kilobytes. What do you think we go
to? I don't know.
Jeopardy music? No. Oh, well. Yeah,
750.
It'll hit 30 megabytes. So it is entirely possible that you could go to sleep tonight. And, as long as you're not checking the Monero network every single hour, you wake up tomorrow, maybe spend an hour or two, and Monero could then be processing 30 megabyte blocks. Now, that is an almost absurd scenario in terms of the fees that would have to be paid. We're really talking about sort of the academic exercise of stretching the system as far as you possibly can. But that's sort of a good reference.
I just want to throw it out there while we're talking here to ground it into what people generally experience. I mean, you're maxing out at like a 0.02 XMR fee in the most ridiculous of circumstances, maybe like 0.2 or 0.025 or whatever. Well, at today's prices, that would mean that somebody is paying like $2.50 US in order to push a transaction through at, not that much faster. I mean, we're talking, minutes or whatever. And in real terms, we've already seen far more popular cryptos go way, way beyond that. And then this network automatically clears. Monero automatically adjusts to clear these transactions. So in the most like dire, horrible, nightmarish of circumstances, there's one guy out there spending millions and millions of dollars to slow down a guy's coffee transaction. It's like these kind of attacks are so outside of the purview of a realistic scenario. And even if they are, you've offered a minor inconvenience, and everybody holding XMR also everybody mining XMR just got a huge a huge payday in the process.
Yeah, and even going further off of that, now you have a huge incentive. A nice thing about RandomX and the rest of it is everybody has mining hardware available. So anybody out there with a powerful computer all of a sudden would flood into the network, potentially, and you would get a wave of new users even off of that. Again, very academic, somewhat absurd scenario that we outlined. So it's interesting to think about. That's for sure.
Awesome, Spackle. Thank you.
0.025 would be $3.58. Now, I did have a question though.
Go for it.
So, I asked this a little bit earlier, but you weren't around, Spackle. Now, my question is, why would I use these scripts over something like using Cake Wallet and having a template set up where I split like one Monero transaction output into 10 0.1 Monero transaction outputs in one block? I know that you said it wasn't a common 1 in 10 out. You said that the super common one was 1 in 2 out. But would I risking my privacy by doing, say, a 1 in 10 out?
So I want to be very careful here because I'm not a Monero researcher. I'm a Monero hobbyist. But just speaking logically, so if you have this one transaction and you've got these 10 outputs and they're all from this one transaction, and you then go to, again, Monerotopia, whatever your event of choice, you go around that event and people will see over the course of that one evening, each of those outputs being referenced as you spend them one at a time, right? So it is this sort of very highly correlated behavior. And especially, there's a lot to game out there. What if you do this 1 to 10 transaction 2 years ago, and then you're going to an event now? It is extremely uncommon for an output, a specific set of outputs from a 2-year-old transaction to be referenced over and over again in decoys for a single evening. So you're creating this very particular setup that I would say is in some ways open to analysis. Whether again, maximum carefulness. I hope nobody listening to this is just gnashing their teeth at me, but that's sort of logically the way that I imagine that perspective. And
he's right, by the way. He's not. I also came to this conclusion, and so did another guy that kind of digs into the math of all of this stuff. The real solution is to not do it at the wallet level. Like, the wallet level can add all kinds of convenience, and people who aren't like super uber paranoid, it can really help with the 10 block lock and all of that stuff. But the solutions offered at the wallet level really need to be applied across the whole chain in a similar fashion, like he's talking about, to eliminate the chances that your privacy might be damaged in all of this. It all checks out what he's saying, that when you create these bizarre one-off transactions, now people who are using Monero frequently aren't going to have what he's describing here, where you have this split and then you use all of those splits like a year later or 2 years later. But the thing is when you create that opportunity, people who are less advanced users and are only using it when the opportunity presents itself may be inadvertently compromising their privacy.
Yep, and
Bawdy is asking if Rucknium weighed in on this. Do you know if he's commented on what you proposed?
Yeah, so I am in the matrix element, what have you. I know he at least had a look at it and said very interesting. He's commented that it seemed like using the decoy selection to time the transactions that I did seemed like a justified approach, let's say. So I don't think he looked into it super deeply, but at the very least, a quick pass. He said it was interesting, so I'll leave it there. I definitely don't want to put words in his mouth, but I suppose if I can, just to try to summarize the earlier question, why would you use the scripts that I wrote over, this feature in Cake Wallet? I would say almost certainly that you wouldn't. I would say that the convenience that is offered by Cake Wallet, by Pocket Change and Moneruho, these are tremendous advantages in terms of the way that they're used. Again, what I'm talking about is you're running a script for a week, before an event, hot wallet the whole time. At the end of that process, you're going to have this set of outputs that I believe are very loosely linked, but I don't think most people are interested in doing that. Now, a lot of the objections that we're trying to address here in terms of timing analysis or not structuring outputs in a way that stands out in any way, shape, or form, these are mostly academic. And I don't think that someone going to a conference who's trying to buy a coffee, get another drink, get some food, whatever it is, I don't think that they need to worry about it at all. I think that pocket change and whatever solutions Cake has, which I'm not familiar with, but whatever solutions they have are totally usable, totally viable. It's just you go into this exercise with the approach of maximum paranoia, and just maybe as a thought experiment, maybe just to think about generally, how could you approach this differently so that the on-chain footprint of whatever you're leaving is as indistinguishable as possible. And there are massive sacrifices that, at least the way that I could conceive of the problem, that you have to make. So hopefully.
I do have one minor discrepancy here with Spackle, though. the person who is purchasing a coffee is supposed to be added into the anonymity set of somebody fleeing a corrupt police state. And when you have less uniformity across all of the normies, buying their eggs, as we talked about earlier or something, you're not adding to the anonymity set of somebody who is trying to buy a boat, off of the coast of Cuba or something like that. It's adding uniformity, because there's not a whole lot of places to buy something with Monero in Cuba or to earn your money in Monero in Cuba. So somebody might donate like 2 XMR to you, right? And then you go to spend that to get off the island and head to Florida or whatever. Well, the problem is you've now created a timestamp transaction. You've now created, a split of the values in the wallet. And not only that, but the output that was split came from a person in Florida. Well, you probably wouldn't know they were in Florida if you had, even like advanced government tech. But the point is this donation emerges, and then a year later, that same output is spent and split, and it matches the cost of a boat ride off of the coast of Cuba. Like, we really need to think about everyone adding to the anonymity set of the person that we're really doing this to try to protect. And that's why I say, yeah, it might not matter for the user, and it might be advantageous to have it at the wallet level so you can, like defeat the 10 block limit or whatever. But at the mega paranoia level, which I live all day, every day, because that's who I am, right? We need to really think about, there are people who are depending on the average Monero user to be adding to their anonymity set and making it ever more difficult to use the amount being spent to get somebody in trouble.
Sure, if I can just throw a response to that, for sure. I mean, you can look at it that as the approach has sacrifices, pocket change, all the rest of it. It's open to analysis. Again, it's still not deterministic. You can look at these things and say with an extremely high probability, it's not deterministic. That's probably the weaker argument. The stronger one would be that there are many features within the Monero ecosystem that have sacrifices in terms of the ways that decoys are handled and the rest. P2 pool has sacrifices. Having view keys at all has sacrifices. If somebody publishes a view key, there are consequences to that in terms of the absolute number of decoys. But proportionally to the system at large, I would say that a lot of steps have been taken to address it. I can't imagine that Pocket Chain's users are about to destroy Monero under any possible even academic exercise. That's just not that's not it. And while I'm very sympathetic to the mindset of pursuing perfection, that's not necessarily the implementation, right? I personally believe that Monero's privacy guarantees are extremely strong. The one criticism, and really what we're talking about for most of these approaches, is ring signatures and what those can at least hint at in terms of someone looking at the system. But when you have the reference, it's the anonymity set that we hear about so frequently. It grows exponentially. If you want to look at a transaction and go back one hop, you got 16 options. You want to go back before, the transaction to that transaction, it's 16 squared. 3 levels deep, 16 cubed, right? It's literally 16 to the x. It is an exponential growth in the number of options that you could pursue as you're attempting to do analysis. And whatever concerns you might have about somebody using a feature like pocket change, I'm going to say the impact is dramatically small. And maybe this is just a misdirected anxiety about the ring signatures approach itself. I think, this is more of a Monero at large problem. I mean, certainly there are a million other things that we could list about the ways that people would consolidate or otherwise use their funds that may make them stand out, may make their decoys less viable. But there's plenty of allowance in the Monero core design for all of that variety of behavior. And I have a strong confidence in it. So I'm not concerned about it in the same way that somebody else might be. Again, not perfect. It's maybe one thing to wish for it, but view keys, P2 pool, there's a set of things that have been balanced, I think, very thoughtfully. And as we go into the future, ideally, funnily enough, we already have Seraphis. We have all these grand plans. Everything that I've talked about, these little scripts that I wrote, they should be absolutely meaningless in a couple of years, right? Exactly. So. I don't know, perhaps poorly expressed. Again, sympathetic to the mindset, but that would be sort of my take on those thoughts.
Well, pocket change also improves the X part. It increases the number of transactions. So overall, I would say it definitely helps. It's just the idea of implementing what you're describing at a lower level could really improve its function, its use, and also just people don't even have to think about it. It's just already built in.
Spackle, what do you think, man? I mean, you kind of hinted at it there. Do you think 2 years from now we're not even gonna be talking about ring signatures anymore?
We certainly won't be talking about it in the same way that we are today. I think a lot of it, again, there's an anxiety that comes from hearing 16 and maybe not an exponential function based 16. That's a difference. But Seraphis, whether it ends up with 128 ring size, like the amount of improvement that would come from that sort of proposal, it's so massive, it's difficult to describe, right? You go back 3 steps and now you're over 1 million options. It's that's extremely powerful in its own right. And you see the conversations around full chain membership proofs, curve trees, and the rest of it. That obviously will change the conversation. Now, I suppose I should be more nervous about saying 2 years. Maybe we're talking 3 or 4, whatever it is. People take your time, look through it carefully. We got a good system that works, so it is what it is. I think Monero researchers, they have everything coming down the pipe to essentially, to address this in a way that we don't need to wring our hands and obsess and worry about it into the far future. So, and potentially not even today, though I can understand people's discomfort.
Awesome. Well, exciting to have learned of you, Spackle, and that you're doing all this work. I know you don't consider yourself as working on Monero research, but effectively, I think you are. So thanks for your contributions. Awesome to see that there's new people popping up all the time that are doing work on Monero. I don't know, maybe you've already been doing it for years, but nice to meet you.
Yeah, likewise. High praise. I appreciate it. Thank you much.
Yeah. Well, that was great, guys. Another jam-packed show as usual. Yeah, this is fantastic. So we actually had Spackle that jumped up and talked about the proposal that Comrade was presenting on. Super cool. We had Andres telling us about his fundraiser that he's doing down in Venezuela, and I think Tony, did he meet the funding goal? Did he fund it all?
Yes, he did.
No, not yet. No.
Oh, wait. What?
Reload the page. You have to reload the page.
Yeah.
If not there, he's close. So that was exciting.
89%. Some of us our cold storage wallets aren't near the computer, so that's the part of the problem. I only have what I have on phones.
All right. Well, we're rounding like 2.5 hours over here. Anything anybody wants to get out before I close it out? Any last thoughts? No. All right, guys, we do these shows every week, Saturday, 11 a.m. Eastern. Anybody that wants to join us, jump on stage, or that wants to properly present something, be our special guest, please reach out to us in advance, and we'll have you be the special guest for the week. You know, if you just come up and talk about something, some Monero-related project you're working on, we want to always help get the word out. Spackleman, nice meeting you. Please join us again in the future. Alaska Anon, and as always, Shortwave, thanks for your continued contributions. Tony, good job with the news this week. Comrade, thanks for doing the dev reports. Hopefully you'll keep that going. And Tux, man, thanks for running the show.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, guys. Great conversations today.
And Bawdy, he's not up here. Thanks, man, for price
Bawdy.
support as always and your contributions.
Hi, Tux.
Well, hello. Well, thanks again for
Alaska Anon Jr.
Where's Tony?
This one's Tony right here.
Yeah.
And that one's Doug. You know who Doug is.
Comrade, you're no longer the youngest guy on Monerotopia.
Yay.
Hi.
Hello.
You got him programming yet, man?
Sorry, what?
I think Chloe's got him doing some programming stuff right now, but
Scratch.
Yeah, he can write stuff in Esperanto though, so that's a good start.
That's amazing. Hi.
Are
guys.
you
Thanks, guys.
getting him to use microbits?
What was that?
Is he using microbits? Or what are you teaching on him?
Oh, well, right now he's just learning a bunch of different like spoken languages, but Esperanto is supposed to improve your coding ability by like a lot, since it's such a logical language. And I know she hasn't he has a language teacher. She's got all of these books for like intro to coding for toddlers and stuff, but I don't think he started it quite yet.
Sure. BBC and Microsoft made a PCB together. It's
yeah, I know. Yeah, he's got all kinds of like ARM-based single board computers to play with, so he should be good on it. Yeah, in fact, I had too many, so I started sending them out to people.
All right, guys, we'll wrap it up there, and we could all transition to family time alongside Alaska Anon. All right, everybody, have a great weekend.
You too.
Cheers.
Bye. God bless.
Thank you for joining us on this week's Monerotopia episode. We stream live shows every Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern. You can find and subscribe to our show on YouTube and Odyssey, or listen to the podcast on iTunes, Spotify, or Stitcher. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or join us